discipline, consistency with your actions, off the discipline, and then you have to have some type of spirit like it's God for me, but you got to figure out something outside of yourself.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Rachani of the Sports Courier TV. We have right here via Zoom a very special guest. He's a former Dallas Cowboys quarterback, a Georgia legend. He is a man who is inspiring many, mentoring many these days. We're talking to former NFL quarterback Quincy Carter. Quincy, thank you so much for your time. How's everything going?
It's going great, man. Thank you for that introduction, too. But, man, it's really going great. God is good.
That is great to hear. And, of course, we want to dive into your football career and your road to recovery. But we would love to hear about what you're doing these days with BRC Recovery Centers.
By the grace of God, I'm so blessed to tell everybody here that I'm now the business development director of athletes and entertainers. And so we designed a mindset program specifically to the athletes and entertainers. We're not going to baby anybody because that didn't work out for me. That didn't work out for some of my comrades. But what we do understand is that we come from a different, walk of life. We've been through a lot of trauma, shame, that a lot of people haven't, dealt with. So we do understand that. We've, designed a program to make sure our nutrition that we're getting to our clients is going to be great. Our rec therapy, going on trips, and, doing fun activities. Also, we designed what we call toxic masculinity course that Brittany Lawless has put together. Our own president, Mandy Baker, she's been our clinical director for years, so she knows exactly the recipe to treat guys. And then me being actually a former client of BRC, I've been through our 90-day program, heavy 12-step program, which really turned my life around. Actually, in step 3, we talk about turning your will over to God. That's when I really knew. That's when I really have started to develop that relationship with God also, but not to scare anybody away. It could be a higher power or the universe for you. But that big book in 12 and 12 really breaks it down. And our staff does a great job of having a course to break things down. And then I'm also a recipient of our McConnell program, which, deals with the trauma, the shame, the codependency, the family attachments that, I was just speaking about earlier. So I'm a benefactor of what BRC is about. And then when you add in the things that we've implemented along with what already we have intact, it's just a beautiful thing to be a part of, man. And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I think the last time a lot of NFL fans heard about you, there were some issues here and there. So at what moment did you decide, like, okay, BRC is for me, and I'm really going to make a step towards finally really turning around my life?
Well, here's the thing. For about 14 years, from 2005, sadly to say, to 2009, July 22nd, when I walked in the doors of BRC, I was reaching out and trying to get help. But what I wasn't doing was really working a program. And then the other thing that BRC offered me was going through the whole 12 steps. See, I was going to rehabs, we'll get the first 3 steps. We're trying to put a Band-Aid on this thing. And then I'm walking out the doors. I don't know how to be a sponsor. I really don't know how to go to meetings. I don't know how to have a sponsor and really work the steps. And it just didn't really work out for me. July 21st. Well, actually, it was the 22nd. I came in the same day. They came and picked me up. The 22nd, man, I had a longtime friend, my grand sponsor, Hollywood Henderson, since 2007. And so I got on the phone with him and told him, man, hey, listen, I've got to get some help. And when I mean help, surrender to this program, because I knew about the program. I knew I had to surrender to God. But that day right there, man, I just said, hey, whatever it is, I got to do it. And he had a good friend, Marsha Stone, still one of my good friends. The relationship we've been able to build, called her, and they were down in South Texas picking me up from Donna, Texas, within like about 5 hours. And then when I got here, man, it was all surrender for me. but it was surrendering to this program of AA and also surrendering to God, man. And I haven't turned my back. But BRC was able to supply me with the tools that I really needed, to really, man, get a stranglehold on this recovery. But it's a continuous program. It's a day-to-day thing. But now I know how to truly live and how to put my past behind me, let God take everything, and me stop trying to drive so much and get my butt in the back seat, not even in the passenger seat, in the back seat with the seatbelt on, and let God do the work. Yep.
For sure, man. Well, it is great to see you doing well. So happy to hear that. Of course, if people want to check out BRC Recovery, they could go to brcrecovery.com, the website brcrecovery.com. They also call the number on the website, which is 1-855-940-5947. Of course, we'll include all that in the show notes. Now, in addition to BRC and helping fellow athletes and whatnot, are you still involved in football at all?
Oh, yes. I'm heavily involved, man. I'm blessed to have my quarterback school. The QuincyCarter17.com is where you can find my website at, but I call it the Quincy Carter Quarterback School. And I have various camps across the country, Florida, Texas, Georgia, Mississippi, actually. But man, I'm just having, fun giving back to these kids. I don't play no games when it comes to the quarterback position, because you got to want to play this game. You got to want to play this position, and it's not just the fundamental aspect of it, but it's what you do off the field, the mistakes I've made on the field, making sure, hey, we got all 11 guys in the huddle first, even if you even huddling up these days with all these spread offenses, but you got the crowd noise, you got the play, you got the protection, what drop step I'm actually running on this particular play, who are we reading, where the blitz is coming from. So man, when I tell you, you got to want to play this position, you got to want to play it. And I'm teaching all nuances of it. But I'm so blessed to have coaches like Bill Parcells, Sean Payton, David Lee, my high school coaches, Steve Davenport, Buck Godfrey. So it's really just all of a collaboration of what I've been taught, man. And I'm so blessed I have those abilities, man, to give it back.
That's so awesome. You mentioned, of course, Sean Payton, Coach Parcells. So the coaches you worked with throughout your career, especially in Dallas, you still have a good relationship with them?
I do. Sean just sent me an autograph ball for one of my guys. Me and Coach Parcells, we talk every couple weeks, good phone conversations. David Lee, he was the guy who was behind the scene. He was a quarterback quality control guy, was kind of his title until he moved up to quarterback coach after I had left, though. But, he been at Arkansas, been at other places, but he was my guy too. So I can't not mention him. And then my high school coach, Steve Davenport, and Coach Buck Godfrey. Heck, I even still talk to Coach Donnan, man. I loved all my and me and Coach Campo, we hadn't got on the phone, but me and Coach Campo speak over Facebook. Heck yes. So we're all still in touch, man. I love my coaches.
That's so cool. And that time with the Dallas Cowboys was tumultuous, right? It's like, wow, Quincy Carter's gonna be a future. And then I believe you either cut or traded and ended up on the New York Jets. And a lot of times, right, when a situation like that happens, especially when you're young, you probably won't want to keep in touch or don't want to keep in touch with your head coach who just got rid of you. But it's great to see, like, all these years later, 20 years later or more, you're still tight with Bill Parcells. I would assume that's the side of him that we don't see, right?
Yeah, well, it's a thing in my heart that I know that I'm the one who was making the mistakes off the field that didn't get me to greatness. It wasn't the guys who was teaching me. And so when you finally are able to look yourself in the mirror, because I blamed those guys for years now, why did they cut me? It was their fault. No, actually, you were actually doing some things you shouldn't have been doing. And how are we going to have our quarterback doing those type of things? So man, I got a special place in my heart for them, because I really know wholeheartedly they cared about me, they love me, and heck, look at them. They still on the phone with me to this day, man. So So I know the real. I can't hide that truth.
Now we're a New York-based show. We got a little bit of a rivalry with the Dallas Cowboys, but there's no arguing they're one of the most famous franchises, not just in the NFL, but in the entire world. So I can only imagine a young kid like yourself, early 20s, getting drafted, being the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys under the legendary Bill Parcells. How the hell did you deal with all that pressure?
Man, you know something? Well, I didn't handle it all great because it was sitting behind closed doors, smoking weed. But man, God, I had a real strong relationship with God, not the one that I have today, because I don't allow myself to get in the way of his graces. Back in the day is what God can do for me. And then, hey, like I got it from here, but now that's a whole different relationship. But, I don't want to toot my horn, but early on in my career, I was able to have coaches like Steve Davenport and Coach Buck Godfrey, who really, really humbled me. And so I listened a lot. I was a student of the game, and then having Bill Parcells there with all of his knowledge and the way he approaches the game, it was like a match made in heaven. So I had a lot of pieces around me, the Richie Andersons of the world. We're still good friends to this day. Guys like that, great teammates, Dexter Coakley, Rocket Ismail, who mentored me a whole lot. So, man, it was a whole collaboration of good people around me. And then, man, having good God, given ability to be able to go out on the field and make plays for our team to win. So, my ego wants to take a lot of credit, but I can't though, man. But I had a lot of great people around me, and then God, ultimately.
Now you look around now, this NFL is very different from the NFL that you were a part of. You were still a part of the era where they were allowed to hit the quarterback, where they were allowed to, take you out. And nowadays, it's like, you accidentally brush into a quarterback, you get a flag or a penalty or whatever. Do you feel like in this very quarterback-friendly era of the NFL that you would have done a lot better than you did back in the day?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only that, not being able to get hit like we used to get hit back in the day, but the cornerbacks, they can't even touch the receivers. You're almost playing flag football out there until they get to the playoffs, though. They let them play during the playoffs, which, to me is kind of like, well, wait a minute. These guys didn't condition themselves to how calls are going to be for 17 weeks. And then in the playoffs, you're not making any calls. But absolutely, though, I will say that with confidence, though, because I know if you can be coming full speed at me and I don't have to move around just a little bit or adjust, and I can just stand there bold-faced and make a throw and know you're going to have to pull up. Oh, my God. Absolutely, yes. My whole anxiety level goes down in the pocket. Just a little bit. Heck yeah. Yes.
Oh, man. Well, we always like to ask our guests some kind of random rapid-fire questions just to get to know them better. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What's your favorite late-night snack or cheat meal?
Oreo Blizzard ice cream from Dairy Queen.
All right. That sounds delicious. You've had a lot of great teammates. Are there a few you can narrow down as your favorite teammates?
Oh, you're going to do me like that. Wow. Man, I have. Rocket Ismail pops right up there, number one, just because the relationship we had. But I got to go back to high school. I still do football camps with some of my receivers right now, Terrence Tramiel and Angelo Taylor. Richie Anderson pops up in my head right now. Wow, my lineman, Andre Giroux, Larry Allen. How long is the show?
If it goes as long as you want, bro.
Flozell Adams, shoot. Some of my teammates back in high school, my linemen. Heck, I can go on and on. Jonas Jennings, one of my offensive tackles down at the University of Georgia, Orantes Grant, who I played with at Georgia, then with the Dallas Cowboys. Shoot, I can go on and on, man. I've had some great teammates, man. I really have.
Of all your teammates, who would you say is the funniest?
It's gotta be a tie between Jonas Jennings and Troy Hembrick from the Cowboys. You talking about two just straight up natural fools, comedians. Oh my God. Jonas Jennings, yeah, and Troy Hembrick.
More passionate fan base, the Cowboys, the Jets, or Georgia?
Golly, you're tough. Wow. That's tough.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. That's a draw. Because let me tell you why. Because Georgia fans, I mean, these kids have been raised out the womb, to be Georgia Bulldogs and Georgia Bulldogs fans. But and then the same thing with the Cowboys, man. And then the Jets, I don't talk about them a whole lot, but man, it was fun playing in New York. One of the best moments with playing with the Jets is literally if you're not playing well, you get your boo and you getting ready to go into halftime, you get your butt booed into the locker room at halftime. That motivated me, man. I love that. I love that passion. And then that Jets, Jets. Man, dude, that chant right there. So I can't even do either franchise like that. I'm sorry. It's a draw. All three of them was beautiful. And it's crazy. I'm sitting here thinking about it. Wow, I played for all three of those teams, though. That's pretty cool. Heck yeah.
And it is pretty cool. And of course, you played under Bill Parcells. And in some ways, when you play for the Cowboys, you also played under Jerry Jones, who's kind of sort of, even still to this day, the de facto GM. Do you have any funny Bill Parcells or Jerry Jones stories from your time with the Cowboys that you're allowed to tell?
My funniest Bill Parcells story is me and a couple of guys are sitting up in the hot tub, and he comes in the hot tub with his mob figure, butt naked, and just gets and just jumps in the hot tub. You should have seen everybody just scram out of there. He's gonna get me for that one though. But man, Jerry Jones, I don't have one just right off the top of my head. He was a little bit more hands-off, more business. He loved us though. But yeah, that Bill Parcells story, that he's gonna kill me for that one.
Did you find out what? Oh man, did you find out why they call him Tuna?
You know something? I've heard, man. I've got so many stories. I don't know which one is the right one.
All different stories from him?
Well, no, just all different stories from other people. Tell him I never actually asked him though. Yeah. I never have.
Oh man.
But what is it? What's the one?
Tell me, man. I don't know, but yeah. Hey, so when you say you're good friends with Bill Parcells, I mean you're really good friends with Bill Parcells. All right.
Oh heck yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah, that's my guy, man.
Oh man. For years now with college football, the SEC has just absolutely dominated. As a former Georgia Bulldog, does this surprise you at all that there's just so much dominance with the SEC?
No, it doesn't. The football in general, let's just be honest, is better in the South. The Georgia, the Floridas, the Tennessees, the Alabama, and I'm talking about from recreation ball up. And then, even when I was in college, going back to the 80s, the South put money into their schools. So we've always been a leg up on the facilities, the nutrition, just football being year round, pretty much starting in the early 2000s. And so we kind of been the first one to the bar on a lot of things in the South. So, I know I probably sound, a little bit egotistical a little bit, but hey, I just got to be honest with you, man. We really care about our football, and it ain't just Georgia. That Tennessee, Kentucky, South Carolina crew too, Mississippi, Louisiana. Shoot, we really care about some South football, and we've just been a big advocate of this is how it's done. And, we still play some great football in the trenches too. Let's be honest. We ain't just all pass happy schools and we groom good physical grown men as football players.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And you look at now with the landscape of college football, the NIL deals, allowing players to get paid now so they could get that exposure at a major SEC school, get that, proper football training to make them pro ready. And now they can make some money.
Hey, and it's all just falling in the line. I'm not a big fan of the NIL. And well, let me say this. I'm happy that the guys have been able to benefit from, the name, image, and likeness. But I think we're going to have to get into the education of, some taxes on all this money and educating these players, not getting caught up in 10, 15-year deals that maybe you linger into your NFL career. And then also, some rules about it, because the recruiting world and even the transfer portal is pretty wild out there. It really is. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. And it's not just, I think, college athletes. You can see with TikTok these days, there's some of these kids that blow up and then they sign these deals, or an artist blows up on TikTok and they sign their rights away. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like they're not getting the royalties they expect or would if they were a little bit more savvy or had somebody in their corner. Specifically when it comes to NCAA and the NFL, do you think both entities do enough to kind of protect these players and educate them, or do you think there's still a long way to go?
I think we got a long way to go. I don't think we prepared enough as coaches and just all of us involved, the NCAA and the NFL. And it was just like we kind of figured something was maybe changing and it could be a possibility, but then it was all of a sudden, boom. And so those financial groups wasn't in place. For the financial literacy is what I'm trying to say, wasn't in place for a lot of these kids. So it just wasn't like, okay, now, all right, we're going to educate you about this and give you some financial literacy and really know what's coming first. It was just like, boom, all right, you got it. You want it. All right, been wanting this long. There, here you go. And so now we're stuck in the middle of kids not even really wanting that education now. Just give me the money. And I think we should have backed it up and did it the other way around.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the NFL, when it comes to substance abuse, getting clean, you went through your issues in the NFL and thank goodness you're doing great now. But do you feel like back then and even today that NFL teams could do more, or does the responsibility fall on the player? Like, how do you see it these days? Could teams do a little bit more in terms of resources?
I think everybody is working together now to get better education on addiction, on alcoholism, on what things needs to be in place and structure, and the whole recovery industry is still learning and is still evolving. So everybody, I think, is working hand in hand to try to put the right things in place for guys. I think the NFL was a little late to the party as far as funds being advocated for guys to get into rehabs, because, we don't have guaranteed insurance once we leave the NFL. So these funds being allocated for guys, especially when you talk about all the head trauma and things that go along with maybe occurring addiction behind that head trauma. So I think things are getting better. I think we're moving in the right space. But I think we were a little late to the ball, but I think we're working hand in hand, as a matter of fact, and that's why BRC wants to be one of those guys that the NFL refers to, because we do have the infrastructure in place to help guys. But I think we're still moving towards that pendulum of things kind of swinging over to the other side, and guys being educated enough to know what the players really need.
Well, you've dropped a lot of gems in this interview. We really do appreciate your time. We want to get you out of here on a high note. What's the best piece of advice you give for success?
The best piece of advice I can give for success. Discipline has to be to the forefront. consistency with your actions, and you gotta take God with you. And if it's not God, I understand, but it's got to be some kind of understanding of a higher power, whether it's the universe, but it's got to be something outside of yourself. But discipline, consistency with your actions, off the discipline, and then you have to have some type of spirit, like it's God for me, but you got to figure out something outside of yourself.
Love that. Well, Quincy, much respect to for everything you and BRC are doing, man. I'm so happy to see you doing well. Also, actually,
Thank
bonus
you,
question: you have a son as well who's a bit of a baller. Can you tell us about him?
Yeah. Well, hey, I got a couple of them. I got two playing college basketball right now. One is Brevard. One is actually at Mount Marty. I was just on the phone with my son who is at Brevard, is doing well, getting ready to go into his senior year. Then I got my last hope as a quarterback. He'll be 9 June 13th. So we'll see how that goes, though. But, man, they're doing great. They're actually great human beings, too. And that's what I really, really care about. And hey, they're doing well, though. But thanks for asking. I appreciate that.
Of course. Love to hear that. You can, of course, check out Quincy and all the programs for BRC, brcrecovery.com. Where else can we find you online?
You can find me with my quarterback school at quincycarter17.com.
Excellent. And one more. Is there anything you wish I asked you in this interview?
Anything that I wish you asked? No, you know something? I love random questions because it's raw, it's authentic. So not really, to be honest with you. I think we covered it all. I'm glad we brought the light about BRC recovery, getting out here and helping guys. Rest in peace to what happened to Mary and Barbara too. Mm-hmm. And see, these are the guys that we want to touch, man, because I know it's guys out there suffering. So no, man, I love this interview. It's almost like we was just having a conversation. Thank you for having me too, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I enjoyed watching you play, and it's great to see you doing great work off the field now. And yeah, again, brcrecovery.com.